The first video I made after we got our 11th edition rules was that orcs are going to be the strongest army in the game. I called it. I was right. People said I was crazy because for the first 2 weeks, orcs didn't perform well. Turns out they're the best army in the game. And I'm calling it again now. Dark Angels are now the strongest army in the game. After yesterday's balanced data slate, my goodness gracious, what more could you want as a Dark Angels player? These things are bonkers, and I'm really excited to break down why. Guys, I'm Doc Crump. I'm a top 100 player in the world, and I'm a professional Warhammer 40,000 coach. Utilizing all of the way that I analyze armies and how I play on the tabletop, I've actually been able to coach several people to their WTC teams, becoming some of the best players in their respective countries, and I've been having a blast doing it. So I'm going to share my love of critical thinking and problem solving with you guys so that we can solve this new meta that we're in. So here's some information about the Dark Angels. Let's break it down why the boys from Caliban are probably the biggest dudes on the block now. So here we go. What we're doing today is I'm going to talk about the incredibly durable units available to this army. I'm going to talk about the offensive capabilities that are now in existence that were not just yesterday. I'm going to talk about how the OC works for the units. We'll talk about all of our different detachments or dispositions that are available to us and all of the absolute buffs. And we're actually going to start with the buffs. So I'm going to go through the faction pack for you guys, and I'm going to show you the individual changes that really dramatically changed the Dark Angels, and then I'm going to talk in depth about some strategies, and I'm going to give you guys a sample list as well for you to get started with. So let's jump right into the world. Here we go. All right, let's talk about this faction pack first. This faction pack is a very, very big deal. A lot of people, I think, skimmed it, and whew, boys. So the first thing that we need to talk about is the Company of Hunters Detachment. Now, this is the detachment that gives you the ability to have assault on anything, and if you're mounted, you get advanced fallback, shoot, and charge. Traditionally, this has been a very strong detachment if you have the models for it, because that detachment rule is so good when you can spam Outriders and the Dark Angels Ravenwing Command Squad and your Black Knights. Now, what they did is they altered the detachment to become more inclusive of other units. Because the big issue with this detachment is like 3 people alive have enough models to actually run a proper Company of Hunters detachment, which is why it's never really made waves in the meta. But now the detachment's stratagems have become much more inclusive, which is making it way more powerful. So if we go through it, none of this stuff has really changed. It just says that you have assault. If you're mounted, you can advance, fallback, shoot, and charge. But the Death on the Wind stratum says your movement phase when a friendly Adeptus Astartes unit ends an advance move, you're now eligible to declare charge. That used to not work that way. So now you can just give advance and charge to anything in your army, which means, yes, the Lion slots beautifully in with Company of Hunters. It's very, very powerful. And then lastly, we have the Talon Strike stratagem. Now, what this used to say is that you could get +1 to wound against monsters or mounted and character units with your mounted units. But now it is no longer keyword locked. Instead, it just says fight phase when a friendly Adeptus Astartes unit is selected to fight, they get +1 to wound. So now the strats for this detachment, as well as the detachment rule, are both really, really good. Previously, the strats kind of sucked, but the detachment rule is very strong. Now the stratagems are absolutely incredible, and it's a very, very big deal. So if you're a Company of a Hunters player, ooh, you're going to be very pleased with the way the game's looking right now. We got a couple other chains I want to talk about here. The Shroud of Heroes enchantment, no big deal. It's a stand-up. Doesn't really matter all that much. That was for the Unforgiven. They did nerf the Inner Circle Companions' abilities. So previously, Inner Circle Companions were always going to be -1 to be hit as long as they were led by a character unit. So they did change it to just giving them stealth. Now, I'm actually kind of here for this still because it's generally has, in my experience, has been quite challenging to keep all of your infantry units within cover. Seeing as like once you fight, one model is going to be left out of the cover or out of the terrain, and it can be a little bit challenging. So I'm okay with them just having this. It does nerf their durability a little bit because they used to be able to stack the -1 to hit and the benefit of cover if you were able to actually keep them all in cover. But they have kept the -1 to be hit in melee. So they did get a little bit of a rules nerf, but they were already a very strong, powerful unit. And as we'll go through in a moment, they also got a points reduction as well. So this doesn't really hurt the Dark Angels, although I understand why some players might be a little salty about it. But the reality is, here's a public service announcement. Practically every unit in the game that had a flat -1 to be hit has been changed to this. You were not the only ones who were targeted with it. It's more or less game-wide. There's a very few exceptions. So that's fine. All right. The Lion has regained the mobile keyword, meaning the lion is now able to move through terrain, which is very strong. And they had a really funny ruling for his teleport ability. It actually kind of doesn't work right now the way they worded it, so they're going to reword it. GW did a great job with this, but listen, sometimes things slip through the editing process. So they'll have to fix this. Basically, his ability to teleport now would allow him to teleport in turn 1, but the problem is this. They've changed his Mist Wreath Shadows Realm ability to say, at the end of your opponent's turn, if this unit is unengaged, you can use this ability. And if you do, place this unit in strat reserves, and they can make an ingress move in your next movement phase, including in your first turn. Okay, kind of cool, but not really. Because you actually can only select the ability to utilize the Mist Wreath Shadow Realms in your command phase. So if you were to go second here, you actually couldn't ever select this ability because you haven't had a command phase to select the ability, even though the ability is used at your end of your opponent's. It's a little funky. You can still use the ability, just not in turn 1. And honestly, it's not that big a deal, seeing as the line also got another points buff. I think we're okay, even though this rule interaction doesn't really work. It's a little funny. You're gonna be fine, trust me. An extra 20 points off in that line is unbelievable, and honestly, I think it's a little too much. But whatever. Now that we also got new rules to our unique flyers, which is kind of cool. I don't think we're ever really going to see them on the table outside of like more just casual play, but it's kind of interesting. So now the Nephilim Jet Fighter currently just has -1 to being wounded when you shoot him with a ranged attack. And since he's an aircraft, he's probably always going to be shot. He's basically never going to be hit in melee. So this is kind of an interesting thing. And I think it's worth noting. Previously, it was -1 to be wounded if a ranged attack from a fly unit shot him. So it does make it much more durable. I don't know if that means you're ever going to take him. He's still like 195 points or something like that. Ravenwing Black Knights and Ravenwing Command Squad with Black Knight combat weapon profile. It's okay. It's basically the same. Ravenwing Command Squad keyword section. We had now removed leader keyword and added support. This is one of the biggest changes to the Dark Angels, because now that means, yes, you can have a Ravenwing Command Squad lead a unit of Outriders or Black Knights and also have Samael lead them. For those of you who don't know, Samael gives the unit advance, shoot, and charge, and he also, well, we'll talk about him in just a moment, but it's real dang good. Ravenwing Dark Shroud, icon of the old Caliban ability. The Dark Shroud is the thing that used to give a blanket -1 hit to the army within 6 inches. Now he gives them stealth. Stealth is, of course, just benefit a carver. Solid. Probably not something I'm taking. Ravenwing Dark Talon Stasis Bomb ability. This was the other flyer that you also still never see. The ability is actually pretty cool, but it's like 210 points, so I don't think you'll ever see it. Basically, at the end of your opponent's movement phase, just choose any unit that's within 24 inches that is visible, that's not blown up, and they get slowed. So on a dice roll of a 1 through 4, they're going to be -2 to their move, and this will apply to monsters and vehicles, which is cool. And they're going to suffer D3 mortal wounds. But if you roll 5 or 6, they'll be -3 to move and take 2 D3 mortal wounds. It's kind of a cool ability. It's kind of cute. Everything else about it is pretty much trash, so you're still never going to see it. But it is kind of cool that it's been updated. And then lastly, this is enormous, Samael, Grandmaster of the Ravenwing, model that we haven't really been seeing very often outside of Company Hunters, but now I think we're going to see him in every single detachment. He gives his unit assaults. He gives his unit advance and charge, right? And then he also gives his unit mobile. Oh boy. That means his entire unit can now just move through walls and are no longer restricted by it. That is incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. Now, he no longer gives his unit fall back and charge, but it does give his unit advance and charge still, and you have a variety of stratagems in different detachments to give your unit the ability to fall back and charge, so it's really not that big a deal. The fact that he gives the entire unit mobile matters a lot. So yes, this is a huge thing. Let's talk about the points, and then I'm going to be going through some of the other things. So let me just make sure I got all this on screen so you guys can see it. I just think I just got to shift this here. Boop, 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 boop. Pardon with me, guys. Almost done. All right, here we go. Make that a little bit bigger for y'all, just to make sure everyone can see. Okay, first, right off the rip, your Deathwing Knights are cheaper, because the first and the second unit of Deathwing Knights is actually going to be 240 points. Previously, the second unit was up to the 260. So this was a really, really nice low quality of life improvement. So Deathwing Knights got cheaper. I kind of okay with this. I think it might have been a little unnecessary. The Inner Circle Companions went down by 10 points. This is relevant. This makes sense because they did get worse with the hit modifiers. And this is a common theme you're going to see for many armies. The -1 to hit took with it like a it was a nerf. So most units that changed their -1 to hit to just stealth has now become 10-ish points cheaper. The Lionel Johnson took a massive extra 20 points buff, which is unbelievable. And at this point, like, he's ludicrously powerful for his cost. I know a lot of people might not agree with that. I'm going to do a dedicated video to the Lionel Johnson because if you don't agree with me, I think you're just objectively wrong. And I'm going to break down literally everything he does. So there's that. Nephilim Jetfighter went down by 15, so he's 180, not 195, but yeah, still pretty expensive. The Ravenwing Command Squad went down in points, which kind of blows my mind. Now, on here on the MFM, it does say leader, but the faction pack says that he's support. So I'm going with support until you know, what I know, but like I think there's an argument where it can be ambiguous if they are leader or support. I mean, realistically, they should stay leader, but that would make it more balanced. But the faction pack says it's support, and that is kind of explicitly edited in red, so I'm gonna make the assumption that that's what they actually mean for now. Of course, check with your TO if you are not sure. Then we have the Ravenwing Darkshroud down by another 10 points for only 70 points. Now, I might be this actually is quite kind of tempting now that it's only 70 points, because previously this thing was like 100. So at 70 points, he might actually be worth it. Samael went down by 10 points, which blows my freaking mind. He gets his entire unit mobile now. I understand why they did it, because he's like, oh, he doesn't give him fall back and shoot and charge anymore. But you've got strats for that all over the place, so him being cheaper is just bonkers. And these are all of the specific Dark Angels changes. Basically, everything got cheaper, like, and significantly so in the form of the Lion. And for a lot of Dark Angels lists, getting those 40 points means that you can get an entire extra unit because of the way that points shake out. So this was a very, very big deal to buffing our armies. All right, so now I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint, and we're going to teach you some of the things that you need to know about this army because, whoo boy, this is a good army. Okay. So let's talk about the units that are presenting people with problems. One of the things that you have to understand about your Deathwing Knights is they are T5, or not 5 wounds, sorry, it's 4 wounds. Little error there. I'll just fix that. Apologies. A 2-up armor save, 4-up invulnerable save, 4-up feel no pain against mortals, -1 damage, and new cover. That's bonkers, especially if you start taking this in Wrath of the Rock, which is my preferred detachment. It's not the only good detachment out, though. Then what you're going to see is that this unit just doesn't die. You can pour entire armies into these swings, and they just don't die. Because Wrath of the Rock, what it will do is it will give you -1 to be wounded if strength is higher than toughness. That means you can blast these dudes in the face with a Knight Despoiler and lose a model, which is kind of hilarious. And they also have relatively a good hitting power as well. That makes them extremely powerful against other elite infantry models. So one of the things that's happening in 10th edition right now is that elite infantry is incredibly powerful, making use of the hidden rule. It can make it so that they really can't be targeted outside of 15 or 12 inches, which makes infantry incredibly powerful. I know you've probably heard a lot of content creators talking about how powerful shooting is. I'm a little contrarian on this, man. I gotta be honest with you. Infantry has just felt so stunningly good to me. It's been so powerful, and I have zero complaints about it. So I am very, very excited about how powerful our DWK are currently. Then let's talk about those Black Knights with Sammy and the Ravenwing Command Squad. You're gonna have 3 models that have 4 wounds each, the Ravenwing Command Squad. You're gonna have 6 models with 3 wounds each if you're running the Black Knights, or it'll be 6 models with 4 wounds if you're running it with Outriders. You can resurrect a model every turn. You get +1 OC. You get +1 to advance and charge, and you get to heroic intervene at -1 to the CP cost, just from the Ravenwing Command Squad. Then Samael is going to give you access to advance and charge. Fallback and charge is going to come from strats typically, and then you're going to have mobile from Samael. And the Black Knights are going to give the entire unit anti-monster vehicle 4-up. Black Knights also all have dev wounds. So this unit basically goes and murders anything wherever the heck they want to do it. You can just do insane things. Now, for me, in the practice, in the trial list that I'm going to give you guys, I've also given them an enhancement to give them reroll advance and reroll charge rolls. This unit is absolutely bonkers, and it's going to cause massive, massive problems in the meta because it's way too strong. And then we have the Lion himself. This guy is an insane value. And like I said, I'll do an entire dedicated video to show you guys how to position him and exactly how to utilize him on the board, because once you utilize him correctly, you're going to cause miracles and disasters to happen on the tabletop. Miracles for you, disasters for your opponents. So 16 attacks, strength 6, AP 3, damage 2 with sustained hits. course, you can run this in certain detachments like, oh, I don't know, Unforgiven Task Force, where you can potentially get him both lethals and sustained hits, critting on 5s. He's got a natural ability to give himself and everyone within 6 inches of him reroll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1. That makes him one of the highest damage dealing units in the entire game. And with the incredible points cost or points buffs that he's just recently gotten, he's a no-brainer in my opinion. He also has the ability to go with 8 attacks at strength 12, AP 4, damage 4 with lethals, which is also bonkers. And he has the fights first ability. Now, this is another thing that I want to like change y'all's mind on. And I'll do this really, really in depth on the Lion dedicated video. But fights first is not useless. This is an ability this is something that I've been reading on the interwebs, where people just seem to think that fights first is useless now that the defender doesn't activate first. No, fights first is a free combat interrupt. Let me ask you this question, ladies and gentlemen, grots and gits. Have you ever had a game that was decided because your opponent had 2 CP to do a combat interrupt? Oh, you have? Yeah, me too. I call it literally every game I've ever played. Fights First is incredibly powerful right now. It's not quite as overpowered as it was in 10th edition, but it's still incredibly powerful. If you think that just because it isn't as good as it used to be, that sucks and it's useless, let me ask you this question. Mike Tyson, would you like to get punched in the face by him right now? No. Mike Tyson is pretty freaking powerful, and he's going to hit you real dang hard. But he's not as strong as he used to be when he was in his prime. Yeah, that doesn't mean he can't hit you. It doesn't mean he can't beat the crap out of you. It's the same thing here. Fight First, yes, it's not quite as powerful as it was when it was in its prime, but it's still an incredibly impactful ability. You just get free combat interrupts effectively with it, which is so dang good. All right. Then let's talk about a plethora of good dispositions and detachments. Dark Angels currently have access to everything you could ever want. Wrath of the Rock, which is my favorite way to play Dark Angels, -1 to wound if your strength is higher than toughness. So let me just go back to this slide for a second. This entire Black Knight squad with Sammy, also -1 to be wounded. This squad of Deathwing Knights, also -1 to be wounded. Disgusting, right? Yeah, it's disgusting. You also have an amazing suite of stratagems. You've got access to the fallback and charge for your Raving Wing units to turbocharge the Sammy. You've got access to advance and charge. You've got access to both buffing up your OC. You can 1 CP charge your opponent in their turn if they're within 6 inches of you, which is very similar to the way current Heroic Intervention works. Which means, yes, if you have the CP for it, guys, you can use 2 CP on Heroic Intervention to charge something that's within 6 inches of you that hasn't charged on 1 unit, and use 1 CP for your Leonine Aggression to do the exact same thing in another area on the board. So effectively, you can never be out OC'd when you're playing Wrath of the Rock. It just can't happen because you're going to charge the crap out of your opponent in their turn. It's a big, big problem for people. So Wrath of the Rock, that's where my heart and soul lies, and that's probably where I'm going to be staying because I am a creature of habit. Then we look at Company of Hunters. Now, Company of Hunters I've spoken about. I think it's potentially just the strongest detachment in the entire game now. I don't have the models to run this, and I'm not about to run out and buy like 18 Black Knights, which I think are about to get remodeled anyway. So if you have the models for it, dude, enjoy the next few weeks because this list is going to be absolutely cracked. But if you don't have all these models, please don't just run out and buy them, man. You're going to fall for the same trap that other people do. You're going to run out and buy the top meta dog, and then you're going to be pissed off when the models are invalidated in like a few weeks or months or whenever the Dark Angels get the refresh. By the way, this is not a hint. I don't know this. This is just my suspicion. Okay. And we have the Unforgiven Task Force. This is one of those detachments that a lot of people have slept on for a very long time. Unforgiven Task Force is actually a very, very good detachment. You've got the ability to just give +1 OC to any unit in your army, making it very, very challenging to be out OC'd. And it is taken hold, which means you love holding objectives. You can also do this even if you are battle shocked. You can still give your unit +1 OC, and it counts as being OC1, which is very different from effectively any other bonuses to OC in the game currently. It is very specifically called out in Unforgiven Task Force that works. You also have a great suite of stratagems. You've got access to fallback, shoot, and charge. You've got access to -1 to be wounded. You've got access to critical hits on 5s if any units in your army are battle shocked. So if a single unit in your army is battle shocked right now, then when you use your stratagem to give yourself lethal hits to a unit, you can also get critical hits on 5s. So let's say a unit of scouts on the other end of the battlefield gets battle shocked. Great. Now, when I have my Stern Guard unit with my Fusillade, Librarian, which was just nerfed, but gives the unit both lethal and sustained hits, well, now I get those on critical hits of 5s. Stack that with Oath of Moment, 4 rules hit. Fishing for just sustained hits on 5s it's actually bonkers damage output. So a lot of people are probably not going to be taking that unit. I'm probably still taking that unit in Unforgiven because I could just do wild things with it. It's also very funny to give your Azrael plus Inner Circle Companion squad critical hits on 5s, which is both going to be lethal and sustained hits. It's absolutely bonkers. You could do the same thing with a lion, of course. It's very funny to do that. So Unforgiven feels super good. You can also have enhancements that can give a 6-up Feel No Pain to your Deathwing Knights, making them even more bonkers durable. And then lastly, we have the Inner Circle Task Force. This is a detachment that I'm probably the least favorable on right now, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's actually quite interesting, especially with the new Vengeful Host detachment, which will gives you access to the take and hold disposition. Inner Circle, if you run them as take and hold, gets very interesting, being able to just give +1 to wound on chosen objectives with your Deathwing units. And it just so turns out that Vanguard veterans, which love that Vengeful Host attachment, are Deathwing. It's very cool. I think all of those work super well. So let me give you this individual list here. This is a sample list. This is one of the first things that I'm going to be running. This will take some iteration. This will take some, refinement. But I just want you to understand my thought process here so that you can utilize this yourself and become even more, excited about playing Dark Angels. So this is Wrath of the Rock. Strength. If your strength is lower than, or I'm sorry, if the strength of the attack is higher than the toughness of your infantry or mounted units, you will be -1 to be wounded, making that Raven Wings command squad unit incredibly difficult to shift, especially considering the fact that they can resurrect models. You can also do the exact same thing on your Deathwing Knights. It's disgusting. So I'm going to take the Lionel Johnson for 265 points because, I'm going to take the Lionel Johnson for 265 points. He is turbo cracked in the new edition of Warhammer 40k. Belial for 75 points. Now, the Humble Belial sucks. He is not a good model. But this list is playing priority assets. And one of the things that I need is a unit that can just press the button that my opponent doesn't want to be dealing with. So Belial is a Terminator body. He's T5, 2-up armor save, 4-up invulnerable save with like 6 or 7 wounds. I think it's 6 wounds. But in Wrath of the Rock, he's -1 to be wounded when your strength is higher than his toughness. Stack that with the fact that he can be blown out 12 inches because of the hidden and gone to ground rolls. Stack that with cover to be -1 to be a ballistic skill. This dude is cracked with his durability for just being a single model that can press the button to do actions on the tabletop. Then I have the Callous Assassin because it's great to have a Vectora, and Uppy Downy is awesome, and doing actions is really important for priority assets, especially for an army list that I've designed to have a very low unit count. This is only 9 units, so this is my experiment, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct about this. And then I'm going to take Azrael with 6 ICC. The units now always has the benefit of cover, and melee they're -1 to be hit. They're also -1 to be wounded when strength is higher than toughness, and they're a T4, which means they're always going to be -1 to be wounded. They have a 4-up invulnerable save, and they've got access to a 4-up Feel No Pain against mortals, just like everything else in the army does. Now, one thing I have considered is actually throwing in an apothecary with a unit as well as support, just to give you resurrections, which is very interesting to me. I'm not doing it yet, but it's something I'm really considering. Then I'm going to run 2 squads of Deathwing Knights, both with an Ancient. The Ancient gives the unit +1 OC. That can stack with your stratagem to give yourself +1 OC, meaning that you can get an unbelievable amount of objective control with these units. And they're both going to be leading Deathwing Knights. Now, one of the cool things about the Ancients is they get a partial buff in this edition because, especially with priority assets really only weakness is that when they're playing against Take and Hold, because Take and Hold has the ability to deny your center objective really powerfully. But if you've just got so much OC that they can't just deny you, especially in this army, which can Leonine Aggress and Heroic Intervene for 2 CP, they're never going to deny your central objective, which means you're going to crush Take and Hold, and that means you've got a really big leg up on the competition. Then we are also going to be running our Samurai with a Raven Command Squad. And that's the big blob I have already spoken about. It is an unbelievable strong unit. They're probably typically going to be starting in reserve, and I might be rapid ingressing them. Unless I just want to run them up into the staging point and just say, hey, have Avast, have at ye. Which I might, to be honest with you, because, let's be real. This squad is insanely durable and deals unbelievable damage for its profile. Wrath of the Rock, I can get their -1 to be wounded. I can also give them +2 strength to all the plasma guns. And if I'm not mistaken, they have, 12. They've got 18 plasma shots, which is not nothing. In addition to advancing and charging and shooting and everything. It's kind of bonkers how much damage the unit does. And then lastly, I'm going to round this out with a single squad of Assault Terminators and a unit of Infiltrators. The Assault Terminators are probably going to stand on your natural expansion and just stand there. They're going to have blown up due to going to ground. If you want to get close to them, you're going to have to kill Terminators that are both -1 to your ballistic skill and -1 to be wounded. If you want to try to out OC them, since they've got 3 Lightning Claws, they can lean on Aggress into like your 10-man squad of Guardsmen that you would try to out OC them, and they'll shred you to death. And then the Infiltrators, say no more. Infiltrators are awesome. I believe it was Innes Wilson who once said, Marine players who don't take Infiltrators are just greedy, and I tend to agree with them. So that doesn't mean you have to take Infiltrators, but you need to have a good reason to not take Infiltrators. So that's why I'm running them. The only weakness for this list that I can sell right now is that it's probably weak in the mirror against priority assets, and I think I'm okay with it, and I'm going to be able to outplay it. I'm going to be experimenting it. I just want you guys to understand where my thoughts are currently, and if you have beautiful thoughts, I want to hear about them down in the comments below. This army is cracked. It's probably a little too strong, but it's super cool. Dark Angels were my love for the last year of 10th edition, and it's really cool to see them popping up again. So with that, guys, I'm going to run, and I hope all of you have an amazing freaking day. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below about what you think is the strongest army. And until next time, crump on. Bye-bye.